Welcome back to the Book Report. So I went to a library book sale, and I'm always surprised by, and I probably shouldn't be, but I'm always surprised by my expectations versus what the experience is like. And admittedly, I live in a pretty small little bubble. I like to be around my family. I like to be in my house. I like to be in my shop. And going out into public is not my favorite thing. And typically, the reasons that I go out into public are to go to the gym or to go hunt for books. So yesterday evening was one of those opportunities where we had a local library book sale, and I went and braved the public. The sale was supposed to start at about 4 p.m., and I ended up going down there about a quarter till or so, and thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to the early sale for members only, and surely there won't be a ton of people there. And I get there, and there were, no joke, 150 people lined up, ready to go in. And I knew that it wouldn't be in a large space, so I knew we were going to be trapped in there. And immediately, and of course I brought a big bag. It's typically how I roll. I bring a giant bag, and that's about it. There were people that had carts full of the fruit trays, the cardboard fruit trays that are great for paperbacks, and people with laundry baskets and stacks of boxes. So, I knew as soon as I saw the line and the people in it, I said, oh my gosh, this is full of book bots. And if you aren't familiar with book bots, that's my own terminology for them, but they're the Amazon book scanners, or the people that have the little scanner and they go in and they just scan for the barcodes, and they don't have any connection to the books whatsoever. They're just scanning them. They're waiting for a green light, and they're going to box them up and ship them to Amazon. And it's very impersonal. Generally, I'm not totally against it because, it saves books from landfills, and that's fine. But, it's not what I would call fun. So there were also clearly people there that were like me, that they're looking for particular things in a particular lane, and they were going in like sharks. They were ready. So, I was at the back of the line, and I knew that my chances were grim, getting a good spot around the sci-fi fantasy table. But I walked in, and it was absolutely a feeding frenzy. But because it was a book sale in a library, everyone had a higher level of politeness than you would normally find in other social environments, especially retail social environments. So by and large, and there were a couple of exceptions, by and large, everyone was respectful, and it was a free-for-all. It was wild. But I walked away with some interesting things, and I do have some thoughts related to, the sorts of things that people picked up versus what they left behind for me to pick up. And I don't know how much that speaks to their own personal, tastes and what they're after. Or if it speaks to the sort of resell lane that they stick to and, their market. But I'm satisfied with what they left me. And I'm not going to hold the best for last. I want to start this off the way it started off for me. So let's go. So as I'm walking in, and I see the fantasy sci-fi table, and it's covered in paperbacks and a couple of hardbacks there. The hardbacks were going quick, and most of them were under the table, so there were folks in there grabbing the hardbacks, and I didn't even get a good look at what was there to start with. But as soon as I walked up to the table, my eye went straight to the binding of a book, and I knew exactly what it was, and I had hoped that it would be there. I had hoped that it would be there and that no one else would see it, and that I could just grab it and roll if it were present, and it absolutely was. So I finally found a copy of The Star of the Unborn, and I am just thrilled. I'm not even thrilled from a reseller perspective. I'm not going to sell this. This is one of those books that you look and you look and you look for because you want to read it because of the hype. And while it does have significant resale value, this will be my copy until I find another copy. And if I find another copy that is better than this one, I'll end up keeping that one and selling this one. Or if I find the same copy, I'll sell that as well. But this is going to be mine. I'm going to read this. This is probably going to be the topic of my next book review. So, extremely excited to find it. It has been well hyped, so I'm very motivated to read it. And no one else got it. I think people were grabbing Piers Anthony books and BattleBot books, and they left me The Star of the Unborn. Now, much of the other stuff that I grabbed is exactly the sort of thing that I like to find and I like to sell. It was really too much to focus directly on what other people were grabbing, but I was watching people just, come in with trays, with cardboard trays, and just grab and stack and grab and stack and grab and stack and grab and stack. And then I look at what's left behind, and I'm thinking, what in the heck? What? How did you leave that here? So, yeah. So we'll go through these real quick, and you can see what they left. And some of it is meh, and some of it is what? So, I found a lot of Alan Dean Fosters, and I kind of stopped picking up Fosters for a while because I had so many of them, but they end up selling, and people want them, and so if they're in good condition, I go ahead and grab them. Found a copy of Dark Star, and again, this one in good condition. This sells for $7 or $8. People like Alan Dean Foster. There's a reason why he wrote so much that's connected to our pop culture. I found these Sterling Laniers, a really great condition copy of The Unforsaken Hero and The Hero's Journey. I have not read these, but both of these are popular, and even in poor condition, they tend to sell for fairly decent prices for paperbacks. They left behind this immaculate copy of The Dispossessed, and I have had copies of this in acceptable condition with much more damage and bending and all of the rest. I've had them sell for a significant amount of money in terms of paperbacks, and so and this isn't the only Le Guin they left behind. Le Guin. Sorry, I apologize. I'll edit that out. This isn't the only Le Guin they left behind. They also left a fantastic copy of The Lathe of Heaven, and they left a copy of The Eye of the Heron. These are all three books that I have sold multiple times in my shop, and they're each very good examples of them. They're all in great condition. I grabbed this copy of Planetfall by Arthur Byron Cover. Not familiar with it, but it was a pretty great cover. They left behind the Death World trilogy by Harry Harrison, which was surprising to me. I picked up 2 copies of The Shadow of the Torturer by Gene Wolfe. which, again, surprising that it got left behind. A copy of Callahan's Cross-Time Saloon by Spider Robinson. Spider Robinson is a unique fella. I don't know if you've ever watched an interview with him, but he's unique, and he reminds me of many hippies that I have known. I found a copy of The Embedding by Ian Watson, and then this is another Alan Dean Foster, the Tar-Aim Krang. This is one that I've actually not come across before, but it's beautiful. Found a copy of Outposter by Gordon R. Dixon, and this is a book, this got thrown into sci-fi, which I guess it belongs there, but it's called Infinite Encounters, and this is a book about UFO encounters. Not only do I enjoy collecting books about UFO encounters, I also enjoy selling them. It's clearly one of those topics I enjoy, if you know anything about me, if you followed me for any amount of time. I found a few Frederick Poles. This one is Beyond the Blue Event Horizon. That's pretty fun. And this is in great shape. Found a copy of Healer by Paul F. Wilson. And a copy of The Cool War by Frederick Pole. This should be fun. I actually am going to keep this one and read it. Found a copy of Shining Steel by Lawrence Watt Evans. I'm not familiar with that. This may go in a larger lot. And then I did find a copy of Orphan Star by Alan Dean Foster. This is often sought after, and another great cover. I'm not totally sure why I picked this one up. Rumor of Angels. I try not to pick up fantasy. There was some reason I picked this up. I can't recall, but someone will like that. This is a copy of Martians Go Home by Frederick Brown, and I don't know anything about it, but again, very awesome cover. We'll have to give that one a thorough going over. And then a copy of Wizard in Bedlam by Christopher Stasheff. And I grabbed an E. Doc Smith because it was in great condition and no one else wanted it. There were also a couple of Fritz Liebers that were next to this one that I was in the process of picking up when a guy from the other side of the table reached over and grabbed him real quick. So I gave him a thumbs up on that. No other fingers, just the thumb. And I've been picking up Tanith Lee. She's interesting. I'm not totally into the fantasy realm, but she has written some science fiction as well. And I know that there are people that like her, so I'm trying to keep more Tanith in stock. And I'm not totally sure why I picked this one up. I may have looked at it very quickly and thought that it was a copy of Firestarter. But this is The Oath by Eli Weiss. It got in there somehow. And then there's another Alan Dean Foster. This is Mission to Mulkin. The hardback version of this one sells pretty well. I've never seen this paperback edition. Not that it's rare, I've never run into it. I found book 1 of The Wheel of Time, and it's in pretty great shape for these editions. And I found a copy of The Highway of Eternity by Clifford Simak, which I saw the Simak sitting there, and I'm thinking, like, man, how did nobody grab this? But they didn't care, and that's fine. That's great for me. And then a copy of Flandry of Terra by Poul Anderson. Also got an Edgar Rice Burroughs, The Moon Men. This was in great shape. I don't collect Burroughs, but people do. So I also found one of the early paperback sets of Foundation. And again, I was surprised that they were left behind. Actually ended up with 2 copies of that. That's pretty great. And I have some other copies in these editions that are in the series as well. So I don't know why. I don't know why anybody would leave them behind, but they did. They're just not into the same stuff, I guess, and that's great. And there's 2 other Foundation books there as well. Not very interesting, but grab them. This is cool. I found a copy of the Blue Star, and this is one of those Ballantine fantasy editions, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. I have found this one before, and it tends, I think by most booksellers, I think it just tends to get disregarded. I have found this on dollar racks in regular bookstores, and it blows my mind because this is a $20 or $30 book. And this one in particular is in fine condition. I think it is completely unread. It's got a little bit of wobble in it, but nothing major. Everything else is in great shape, and this is a very sought after book. People enjoy this book, and I was so happy to find it again, and I will find an amazing home for it. They also left behind this. This is The Shores of Beneath. So these are 4 pieces of contemporary classic science fiction. Samuel Delany, Thomas Dish, Saldick, and Zelazny. I have not seen this collection before, but it's pretty rad. And let's see what it's got. We've got Time Considered as a Helix of Semi-Precious Stones by Samuel Delany, Graveyard Heart by Zelazny, Masterson and the Clerks by Saldick, and The Asian Store by Dish. This is mine. No one can have this. And I'm just so thrilled that the other book hunters there left it for me. And it's got that nice red text block. Got to love that. And they also left me this Digata of Palmer Eldritch by Philip K. Dick. And I have never seen it in this edition. Again, I'm not saying it's rare. I've just never seen it in this edition. This is a Bantam. And I haven't looked at the value of this book, but I'm sure that it is, fairly significant as far as paperbacks go. It's probably at least an $8 or $10 book. And yeah, they just walked away from it and left it there for me. I'm so thrilled that they did. I have a few other things to show you that aren't science fiction. And maybe a couple that are. This is a copy of The Naked Ape by Desmond Morris. And not only is this an extremely interesting book, this is a book that sells fairly regularly on my eBay page in paperback form. This is the first time I have found it in hardback. And I don't believe I'm going to keep it. I think I'm going to let this one go back into the wild. So this will be a catch and release. Yeah, it's 67. This is probably a first edition of this, and it's got a little bit of wear on the cover, but all in all, it's in good shape. And like I said, it's a very interesting book. There's a lot of people that like this, and I enjoy collecting and selling anthropology books. I also found a first edition of Contact, which I have found this and sold this multiple times on in my store, and it always does well, and this one is in fairly good condition. This is another anthropology book that sells fairly well in paperback in my store. This is Origins by Richard Leakey, and I have not found it in this edition before, but this is fantastic. And I also think that this is going, ooh, what is this? I don't know what this is. This is inside of it. Oh my goodness. Foundation Foundation for Research into the Origin of Man from. Very cool. What a fun surprise. I wonder if this was included with the original publication. Either way, that's very awesome, and this is a very cool edition of this book, so I'm sure I will find a good home for it. This is a hardback without the dust jacket copy of Cat's Cradle, and I did not even open it to look. I don't think it's a first edition. I imagine this is probably a book club. Yeah, reprinted. This is a book club edition. I'm going to keep this though. This will be mine. Oh, and then I found this in hardback. It's not very interesting, but it's fun. I went ahead and grabbed it. I also got this book on the philosophy of cybernetics by Frederick Pole. And this is one of those philosophy books that will be sort of centered on the meaning of mind and then sort of moral extrapolation based on the meaning of mind. So this is actually going to go into my collection. This is in great shape. And then a copy of Winter in Eden by Harry Harrison. I've sold a few of these in hardback. This is the last one. Now this one is very left field, at least for this channel. But this is one of my favorite books. And this is The Complete Walker by Colin Fletcher. This book has been in print for decades, and I believe it's still in print, and I'm not sure if Colin is still alive. I know that the last time I looked a few years ago, about 10 years ago, he was still alive, and he was still updating this book with information based on new hiking technology. This is a book about backpacking, and I have really fond memories of this book because my brother found this book in the early 90s in a used bookstore and tore it up. And Colin is hilarious, and he's very straightforward and has a very straightforward approach to the information that he's providing. But this book is invaluable. If you are into backpacking at all, you can order an updated version of this book, brand new, or you can go find one of these original versions. And aside from the kind of technology, specifically the material science that goes into a lot of backpacking equipment, the other information that is provided in here is timeless. And this isn't a survivalist book necessarily. This is more of a philosophy book, the philosophy of walking long distances. And it talks about his journey on the Appalachian Trail, his philosophy insofar as packing his pack based on the kind of hike that he's doing. It's a phenomenal book. I love these books. Colin Fletcher is hilarious and amazing. If you ever run across these and you're at all interested in hiking, grab it and read it. You will not be disappointed. That's all I have for you today. I've got a few more videos that are going to be coming out in fairly short succession. One of them is going to be an exploration on those analog Dune magazines. And I'd also like to do an eBay-specific video based on reselling books on eBay. So I know that in the Discord forum that I enjoy following, there were a lot of people that are sort of getting into the reselling of books, in an e-commerce environment. And there are a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions about it when I was trying to figure it out, just 6 months ago. And I feel like I have gained a lot of knowledge and experience about the process in the last 6 months. That doesn't make me an expert in any way, but I have found that I've been able to answer some basic questions that people have about the process. And so if you have questions about selling on eBay, or about just reselling books in general, or how to find books and whatnot, go ahead and just put the questions in the comments, and I'll address them in the next in the eBay specific video that I'll do. So I really appreciate your time, and y'all be kind to each other. It's messy out there.